right. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited to have you.
I was waiting for this day,
Waiting for the call, right?
I was hoping you would ask me.
Yes, well, here we are.
Yes.
So just to preface, I have Kelly Sirois, the lovely Kelly Sirois with me today. And, we met, 4 years ago, probably?
Well, I want to say 2019.
Okay.
If I opened the studio 2018,
Yeah.
it was around,
It was very soon after I moved to Georgia.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been
a while.
We made it through
It's been a minute.
the madness together.
Seriously. And you've been all over the industry, right? So you started as a manager to your son, actually. We could talk about him a little bit. Awesome guy,
Thank
Garland.
you.
And then you became an actor yourself. You went to a film school. We can talk more about that. But you've done just about everything. So why don't you give everybody a little bit of background on yourself just so they can kind of get a feel for who you are.
Okay. Well, am I looking at the camera or am I looking
You can
at
talk
you?
right to me.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk
Tell
to
me,
you.
because I don't know all of it. So tell it to me like we don't know.
Well, it really did start back when I was 4 years old, or actually probably even before that.
Yeah.
I did a Coca-Cola commercial with my mom, who raised my sister and I as an actress and a model when we were really little.
Really?
In Atlanta. So she was in a really bad, terrible movie. I say
Your
that
mom or your
because
sister?
my mom.
Yeah.
My dad made the mistake of taking my sister and I to watch this movie on the big screen, and she got killed in it. And we were kids, and we were like, "What is happening?" So
awesome.
yeah, but it was a movie. My mom was in a movie, and she was a model, and
it went on the big screen, though.
it went on the big screen.
Hey, that's the
we
dream.
got to watch it.
That's the dream, right?
So
Being
it
on the
was
big
really
screen.
cool. And she decided she was a better model than an actress, and didn't really pursue that route. But the seeds were planted for me.
Yeah.
She basically made some great connections. She has this lady that lives here. Her whole entire world has been entertainment, Shay Griffin. And my mom I don't think she was an agent, but she was a casting director and would have classes, and my mom would go.
Yeah.
And they booked my mom for stuff all the time. So I was introduced to Shay Griffin when I was a little girl.
Awesome.
And she's still relevant in the Georgia entertainment world to this day.
What would we know her from?
A lot of, I guess, old-time actors would know her. I don't know what kind of film that she had casted and things like that. I really don't know.
So she's
But
a
I'm gonna look
casting
her on
director.
IMDb. She's done it all. She's been an actress. She's been a teacher. She's been a casting director. I would say that's more of her realm now, is like casting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you walked down a lot of paths. I remember, meeting you, and you were a school owner. And you took a school, and you were like, something happened there where it shut down, and you were like, I'm going to take it over because all the people want to keep acting, right? Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
So then you stepped into maybe some new shoes because you were really just talent at that time.
Yeah.
And then,
I was just a realtor. I became an empty nester, and I was like, I had waited all that time to get back to my love, which is acting. And I was like, okay, I can. My kids are out of the house, and give me something to do. So I started taking classes locally, and they abruptly closed down. And people were calling me. They were really upset. They were crying. One guy, he called me. He was crying, and I'm like, oh. I said, don't worry. I'm going to start an acting studio. And it's going to be called Atlanta Hollywood. Because I had already bought the domain name of Atlanta Hollywood for my son. I had this whole idea that I was going to build this platform for him to help him with his music. So I bought Atlanta Hollywood probably 12, maybe even 15 years ago at this point.
You just held on to it.
I held on to it. I was like, I'm going to use it. So when I decided I was going to open an acting studio, kind of just literally on a whim, because this grown man is crying. Like, what are we going to do? I'm going to open up Atlanta Hollywood. And that's what I did. We didn't miss a beat. We had, every Tuesday there's Meisner class. We had The next Tuesday, there was a Meisner class, and we had
Wow.
it at a place that we were given for free for a little while, a little, like an executive suite.
Wow.
And it was a small room, and it was packed.
Really?
Oh my God, everyone was so excited. Yeah. And then I lured over a couple of like beneficial teachers
Yeah.
that I knew would be good for students. And
Yeah, yeah.
they decided they would, teach for us. And before you knew it, I had an acting studio, and it went crazy.
Just came together.
It really did. It was magic. Yeah.
Just, I don't know, the last several years finding you, that's kind of how everything is with you. It's like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. Oh, I'm doing it. And you're knee deep, waist deep, chest deep before you even, have an idea of exactly what that thing looks like. But I like that because you don't ask too many questions, you just jump in. And it's exciting, It's
Thank
fun to be
you.
your friend.
Oh my God, I love you. Thank you so much. I feel the same way about you too.
Yeah, well, I think we resonate because we just jump into things.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to do a podcast. Hey, I'm doing a podcast.
Okay, can I
Hey,
be
you want to
in
be
it?
on the podcast?
Yay!
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so excited. That's
That's
great.
cool. No,
That is
it's-
so funny.
it
I mean,
is.
birds of a feather flock together, right?
Exactly.
We've been through a lot together,
Mm-hmm.
and it's great to like have somebody that is got the same kind of ideals lined up and
Yeah.
working towards the same thing and trying to bring goodness out of it, and try to like do what we can to fill the gap of a broken system.
Yes.
And so we
Totally.
both share that same vision.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. I would love to talk more about that probably a little bit later. I want to talk more about you first, but definitely we'll get into the system and kind of how things are changing and how, what that might look like. But tell me about some of like your favorite acting roles that you've been in and your experience in the industry so far. What's that been like for you?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, going back again to childhood, one of my favorite memories of acting was taking a Shakespeare class at the Alliance Theater. I really dove into some classes there when I was in, I think in high school.
And that's Alliance Theater is local to that Marietta, or is that
It's
right
in Atlanta.
It's in Atlanta. Okay.
Yes, in Midtown.
Yeah.
And I mean,
So
but
you did theater back in school? Did you do any theater
no,
after school?
No, I never did.
Oh,
that was the
really?
only, and it wasn't even on stage. It was just a classroom setting.
Mm-hmm.
So I never did theater for whatever reason. I just didn't do that. I think we didn't even have drama at our high school.
I never wanted to. I never wanted to do theater. Well, I shouldn't say that. I sadly auditioned for one theatrical play in high school. Was it? No, I guess it was middle school. And I was so nervous, which you know me now, I don't get nervous at all.
Right.
So obviously training helped a lot with that. But I was so nervous and the audition was so bad that
gosh.
I think they said I could be in it, maybe out of pity, but but I didn't even accept it because I felt so stupid after the audition.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
theater, man.
It can be brutal.
Middle school was rough.
Oh my
Middle school was rough.
gosh.
Yeah, and it wasn't
sorry.
that I was like,
It seems like you just go in with gusto with everything you do. That I can't imagine that you failed at
A lot
something that
changed.
badly.
a lot changed over the last
Aw.
30, whatever, 20 some odd years it's been. But yeah, so for theater, I tried in middle school, failed miserably. And then when I was in high school, I started doing martial arts, and that's when I really started performing. And I always wanted to.
Wow.
Actually, my mom brought me to an audition when I was maybe like 10, 8 or 10. And I remember I wanted to act really bad, even as a 4-year-old, just like yourself, right? Like a little kid. And I went into the theater, and they were like, okay, first thing we want you to do is sing Happy Birthday. And I was so mad
Oh my God.
that they wanted me to sing Happy Birthday because I wanted to be an actor.
Oh my gosh.
In my 8-year-old brain, I was like, that has nothing to do with being an actor, you know. But they wanted to see if I had the courage and the stage presence to do it, right?
So cute.
So instead of owning it and going, yeah, happy birthday, I was so mad. I was like, whatever. So I just spoke it out, and they're like, okay, next.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So my start was very humble beginnings.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a mess.
Well, it must have worked because you're talking about it now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that stuck
I'll
with
never
you.
forget it. Yeah, I'll never forget it. And
Yeah.
that, you know, maybe you're right. Maybe it was one of those things where it's like now I broke through that wall that I was like, you know, all that closed offedness completely
Yeah.
broke through it. I have like no reservations on stage at all now.
Right.
Which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it does take things to happen, you know, unless you're just like Seymour Hoffman or something and you're like flawless.
Right.
Perfect, but you know, or someone like him. But
Yeah.
I think that you are that way.
Oh, well, thank you.
But I'm just saying.
I've come a long
I'm
way.
sure he had his moments too.
Yeah. So started young, and then really you were just in support of Garland for a long time. And
Yeah,
that was
once
kinda
I
like your
became a
role.
mom, you know, I was like, I have to be done.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I actually, even when I was pregnant with my daughter, I reached out to an agent. I was like, if you need a pregnant woman, you know, here I am. And I actually did get a Tampa General commercial.
Really?
So I got it. Yeah, that
Like
was
the
kind
insurance
of fun.
company?
Tampa General is a hospital.
Oh, I'm thinking like the general.com, like that wing. Okay, I see what you're saying.
No, it was back in the day before
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
was online
yeah.
ads and stuff. This was an actual commercial
Okay.
on TV that probably people saw because did the internet? Yeah, it existed, but it was definitely like
It was new.
it wasn't so readily available.
Yeah, exactly.
But
So this
yeah.
was a cable spot.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And you know, it's funny. I can tell you this. It was a burning desire that I kept. I'm like, one day.
Yeah.
You know, it never went away. I wrote a screenplay. I didn't do anything with it. It's
Yeah.
probably horrible, but it's thick. And I just wrote.
Really?
And you know, just to kind of fill that time of waiting, because I felt selfish for even thinking about acting.
Interesting. Because you had children.
Yeah, and I was a single mom.
Oh, okay.
And that kind of defines me, you know, that defined me for years. So when you go through that kind of struggle, you're like, myself, I'll worry about that later.
Yeah, you don't have time
know?
to think about yourself. Wow.
I mean, they were my top priority. And then, but like you said, so what happened with my son, I did become his manager, which, you know, I didn't realize that was a bad thing to call myself a momager. But I know now that's a terrible thing to have called myself. Like it didn't do him any good. But what did come out of it is that he had a mom that completely supported his passion, like 100%.
Yeah.
Never did I say, oh, you can't do that. You should look for something else to do. I'm like, if you want it, it's yours. You go get it. And he was 13 years old when he decided that he was going to, you know, get into music. And so I said, okay, you need to we'll put you in guitar lessons. And we put him in guitar lessons and the teacher's like, lady, he's teaching me. And I'm like,
he's a beast.
What?
Yeah.
You know, are you kidding me? But he was very smart, like math was his thing and he just took to it.
Isn't that funny how people that are good at math are also good musicians usually?
Oh, yeah. They see it. They see the number. They see it.
Yeah. Well,
It's
everything,
really,
a lot of people don't
it is music.
realize
It is
that
numbers.
it's super mathematical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like each bar and each, you know, it's like
Yeah.
each measure and bar and all that stuff like that is timed out. It's very interesting, which is weird because I'm a drummer and I hate math.
Well, I wonder, like that's like beats, which is different, I think.
No, I'm very good at like mental addition, multiplication, subtraction, but I'm not good at like algebra and stuff. I joke, but I hate when you add letters in.
Right,
But
like 1A minus 2B equals...
Right.
What, yeah, I was like,
equals
oh,
X team 47.
You know they only teach like 5 intelligences in school, and there's 16 or more different intelligences. So it's not good the way they teach people that are
School
think different.
is, yes, I agree.
Public school.
I agree. Yeah.
That's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
for
that's
later.
a different podcast. Definitely, we're homeschool people for sure. Did you homeschool your kids?
Well, I did homeschool Devin for a year, but
Well, it's
I
hard
couldn't.
when you have to earn all the money.
Yeah, I had to
Yeah.
work, and it was really crazy. It was really
very
crazy.
difficult.
But I do believe, the pain that we went through and the struggle that I went through and they saw has made them clearly, they're adults now and they're like self-sufficient and doing amazing. So they
Super
learned
smart.
a lot. They learned a lot.
So
They
smart.
did great.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful because it definitely wasn't because of me. I
Yeah.
can tell you that right now. They just are amazing. And anyway, so I was his momager and we would literally, I said, so he had his 13th birthday party and he played, oh my gosh, a song. Wow. You'll have to edit this part out. Anyway, he played a song that I thought would be etched in my memory forever, but I'm not thinking right now, to the family and let them know, hey, I'm doing this. And then after that, we'd be in high school and I'm like, as long as you have good grades, sure, I'll take you to this open mic night at a bar,
amazing.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, this is not where I want to be. I don't know if I'm being a bad mom letting him go there, but
So
his
how old was he
passion
when he was playing
he was in
at
high
bars and
school.
stuff?
He was in high school.
Wow.
But it wasn't, So, but it was like, all right, so the deal I had with him was, I'll do this if you keep your grades up. So I'm pretty sure all of that, even though a lot of times I was conflicted, like, is this the right thing to do? It was, because he stayed out of trouble. Well, he didn't stay completely out of trouble, but he stayed out of
What
more
kid
trouble
does?
than he could have gotten into, I'm sure of
For
it.
sure, yeah.
Because of music.
Yeah.
And so then I just started making a bunch of connections, trying to do everything I could to like elevate him and, book him at different places. And so I started doing this outreach and now, he's in Nashville and he and his
it's
wife
wild.
they book people. They're like, he's a producer.
Yeah.
He's like, an entertainer. They book people. They're creating shows. They're doing all this stuff.
I know, it's
So
wild.
it is wonderful. It's wonderful.
It's amazing that it's been, because he's close to my age, I think, right? He's in his 30s, yeah?
Yeah.
So from 13, he's still doing it
Yeah.
20 years later,
Yeah.
which is rare. Most
Very
people
rare.
give up after college age.
He has had a full life.
A job, right?
Yeah.
And then it
He's
just
been through
disappears.
all the stuff that a lot of people never go through. Like he moved to a town where he had a manager and he had a billboard, his own billboard, and like had
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy. Garland, like he's let me just tell you, I won't cry because it'll mess up my makeup. But he moved to Mississippi.
Yeah.
And because that's where a manager was that he was getting managed by. And I still was struggling. It took me a lot of time to get my finances, when you're a single mom and you're living in the system for
I
a
know.
little
Well,
while.
I was mostly raised, I saw my dad on the weekends, but I was raised by a single mom, and it's the same thing.
It takes time.
It's very
to
difficult.
build your nest egg, and I wasn't there yet, and so I couldn't really help him financially like I wanted to. I still sent him money as much as I could, but he was making his own way for sure, and it was not pretty. It was definitely a bachelor pad, and he had a moped. You might get so mad at me for telling this story, but it's really a great story. And he would have to ride that thing to this place where he would play. And this really sweet old couple, they would show up and they loved Garland, loved him. Like you couldn't have kept them away from this place where,
Yeah.
And so Garland, he would show up. It was snowing, in
my
Dumb and
gosh.
Dumber when he has the
They're on
frozen boogers and everything. I feel like that was Garland,
Yeah.
riding because it was raining and snowing and he got there.
It's
He was
amazing.
so dedicated.
That's amazing.
He went like through the hellfire
Yeah.
to get to where he is now. And it was just this passion inside of him that, gosh, I guarantee you, I mean, probably now at this point he has had a day without practicing his guitar. But I could definitely have said up until the last maybe 5 to 10 years, or maybe 5 years, like he has had that every single day practicing. So that was part of like staying in the business for me, right?
Yeah.
Staying in the entertainment world. So during that time, I'm building those connections. Then he really, when you don't want your mom messing in your business when you're in your 20s anymore.
Yeah.
That was really hard. Because I just wanted...
So he fired you as his momager?
Oh, yeah. It's like, don't even say that word. Okay. And it was so dumb. Like, I should have known. I was just very enthusiastic about him. And if anything, it was probably more embarrassing for him. Like, Mom,
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So I had to back off. That's why I got back into acting. Because I'm like, I have to pour my creative self into something.
Seriously.
And I've been dying to get back into acting.
Yeah.
So I started taking classes locally. I started in Florida before I moved back here, but it was just like workshops with a couple of casting directors down there. And I got some pictures taken, and I'm like, okay, so really 2017 is when I jumped back into acting.
Okay.
And at the same time, I was like, I had just graduated from Georgia State. I went back to college while I was trying to find myself. I said, you know what, I'm so close to having a degree that why not go back and at least so I can have a real job. And I knew Georgia Film, around that time it was starting to hit. And I'm like, if I'm gonna do this, I want to finish out with something I love to do and not what society is telling me I should do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, because I could be like, I could work at Kroger's and be a bagger, but I want to be the best bagger there is, like I'm like, so then I'm going to go into film and TV, I'm going to go back into acting, into that world. I don't know if I can make money. I wanted to make money.
Right.
But I'm like, passion overwon the idea of going into corporate America and making money.
Yeah. Totally.
Because I had a really great job that I could have stuck in that area in radio sales, like at 99X, and that was amazing. But it wasn't fitting in with being a single mom. And then I'm like, I could go back into that? But I was like, nope, I'm gonna go for my passion.
Yeah.
So I went back to Georgia State. I got my bachelor's in film and video production. The whole time
At Georgia State.
Yeah. Which was, Georgia State. It was not good.
So what was not good about it?
Well, maybe it's because I think I might have been in the first year.
Of their film program?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can just tell you, so sorry. I never picked up a camera in any class.
Really?
Never picked up a camera in any class. Never picked up a lavalier mic. Never learned about sound, lighting, nothing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So what was it primarily about? Like what would they teach you all day?
Man. So we learned about the history of film.
Oh my God.
Types of filmmakers. Maybe it was really, I can't even really recall what.
Really?
Yeah. It was bad. So what I did was they had a thing called the Digital Aquarium. And that's where they have tons of equipment, computers everywhere. You can go and use their stuff for free because you're a student.
Sure.
So I went there. I took classes there, held cameras, worked on crews.
But that's at Georgia, same place.
Same place. So I did get something out of it, but I had to, I volunteered to do that kind of stuff and just self-initiated myself to do it.
Wow.
So, yeah, but I got a lot of experience. Like I interviewed Jason Reitman up in the air. He's a director.
Yeah, yeah.
So I interviewed him. That was fun. I worked for GSTV for a little while, helping them in the production side of things and interviewing people. And, I worked at Emory on some projects with some filmmakers and did their 48-hour film festival thing that they had. So I dove into it as much as I could and used their resources.
Yeah.
And that's where I really learned. I learned how to edit there. So yeah, I made a documentary and,
Wow.
I made a little, a film for the film festival, which was kind of fun.
So, but if I was a student and I said, hey, I want to go to Georgia State and do their film program, I wouldn't get much of that unless I did it myself.
So in all fairness, it was either their first or second year. So it might have gotten better. It may be amazing now.
Right, we don't know.
But no, I would not recommend it at all. I would definitely not recommend it. Sorry.
That's all right.
I feel bad for trashing Georgia State, but I'm just going to be honest.
I'm certainly not offended. Well, that's cool. So recent projects that you've been on, I know you booked a feature. Was that last year that you filmed that? I saw it recently. I saw the movie
I'm
recently.
so sorry you did.
No, it was hilarious. Where you're driving, where you hit the...
I know. I killed the family. Oh Lord.
It's so
yeah,
good.
that was fun. That was great. A great experience. I'm very thankful.
Yeah.
It was called Wholly Irresistible.
Yes.
I don't like it. I'm just going to be honest because I'm vain and I had like the COVID 50. So I was very fat. I mean, I got to lose weight, but I was huge there. So and they did my makeup. They wanted me to look bad.
They purposely
made me look bad.
You had like curly hair.
Yeah.
Which is not normal.
And my eyeliner I was like, so it was very hard for me to watch.
Yeah.
I watched it one time and I haven't been able to watch it again.
Aww.
So I'm like,
well,
I
watched
won't
it when
really
it first
tell
came
anyone
out.
about that.
Did that go to theaters or did that just go
They did do some theatrical.
They did? Okay, cool.
A couple of releases,
That's
I think.
cool.
So.
Did you get to see yourself in the theater? So I've been in a couple things that have gone to theater and I've never seen myself. I've never actually gone and seen myself. I will.
Wow.
I will. 11th Hour comes out.
Yay!
Probably like in March.
Oh, I can't wait.
So we'll get to go to theaters and watch
Yay.
that. We'll probably bring all the.
Oh my gosh!
Our
we'll
whole
have,
team.
We'll have moms of people.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
I'm excited.
So obviously you own a school now, and you have for a while. But I think one of the cool advantages, at least that I've seen, is you're able to take like 1 million classes, and you have like you've had some amazing instructors. You have some currently at Atlanta Hollywood that are really amazing, like Wes and some of these other people. Like, what would you say is your favorite technique for acting that you've studied? And what do you think like resonates with you? Because obviously people that are actors and filmmakers will be watching this. Like, what do you think is the most effective? And I know it's not gonna be the same for everybody, but for you personally, what has been your experience with that?
Wow, that's a really good question. I would have to say that I just really love the Warner Laughlin technique.
How come?
There's a story behind that.
Okay. Well, feel free to spill it.
Okay, so probably 4 years ago, I had a different agent at the time, and my agent's husband had a scene that he wanted me to work on, and it was very important to him that I was able to do this. Like I felt like I was being tested a little bit.
Yeah.
So the scene was that I killed my daughter. And I just wasn't, I read through it and I'm like, I can't even put this in the universe.
It's very hard to imagine.
Like I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah. Sure.
And so I have an amazing friend and mentor, acting mentor, Alpha Trevette.
Awesome guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great guy.
He got me with Jay Purvis.
Oh, great.
He's the one that recommended me when I was looking for a new agent.
Yeah. So Alpha said he kind of like basically what he did without even realizing it was described the Warner Laughlin technique to me. And it was basically like building someone else's world and not using my own experiences, which, can be harmful if you've had trauma in your life and you have to reuse that, or you go to a dark place and you're borrowing it or substituting, or I just manifesting it from real life. So yeah, that kind of laid the seed work for Warner Laughlin. Then I took like a little workshop about it, and I was like, okay, I kind of like this. You take this person and you build their world and you create memories so that it really is someone else's life, And so I really liked that. And then I said, you know what, one day I'm going to take the full Warner Laughlin course. I'm really excited about this.
So do you write it out? Like, do you write it out, all the stuff? Like, you write it down as if it's
a lot of
like
writing.
You're journaling a real
like
thing?
If you're a writer, this would also be a great class for you.
Oh, interesting.
It's very creative. It's very left-brained and right-brained. You have to use both.
Okay.
It's a lot of prep work for your. So if it's a co-star role or something like that, you don't need to use the Warner Laughlin technique and get into this whole, unless you just want to.
Characters, Yeah.
But obviously co-star, you're just supposed to be passing the baton on. It's the other people that you're trying to help, right? But for Warner, it's more of like, it's also more for being on set. So I did get it was like, oh my gosh, it was one of those, the ones in Tennessee that everyone
like a crime
a crime
like a
reenactment show I was on.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that I was ever on set where you have to take your lines and actually do something and move around, and it's like, it was very unsettling. For me. I felt really confused.
Okay.
So after that, so the Warner Laughlin technique also helps you like with your script while you're on set.
Yeah.
So it's designed for that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is really cool.
That's great.
It is, to be able to take it from a classroom to being on set is interesting.
So I know that there's, probably 5 or 6 like main, Uta Hagen, Meisner, right?
Love Meisner
Stanislavski, like just a handful of like main acting teachers that kind of pioneered the new style of acting. And even within like Meisner itself, there's 2 different schools of thoughts, that I've seen anyway. There may be more than that, but I learned repetition, like the repetition side of Meisner, where it's like the drills. And I used to watch actually Meisner's old videos after I did it with my instructor, Ralph Colombino, really a phenomenal actor. Actually, he was in New Jersey when I was training up north. And that's like when I started my career in New Jersey, New York.
Oh, yeah.
And but he would do the repetition. And what I liked about that was the world building was actually really happening in real time. So if you learn Meisner, in my opinion, you can grab onto lines and understand them very quickly. And maybe that was just what I got out of it, but I felt like if you don't have a lot of prep time, like when I cold read, I can crush a cold read because I just can hop into character like that. Because in Meisner, they teach you literally, like, I think maybe what it did for me was it taught you not to think,
right?
Which people don't realize that's a hard thing to do as an actor, is not overthink it. Like, how do I say this line to make it feel right? It's like you just say what feels right.
Yep.
And that ability to just jump in was really key, and I think that was what helped me grow really fast as an actor. Actually, was just that, not mindless repetition, but just really belting out the first thing that felt natural. You know what I mean? So I really like that about it. So, but Warner Laughlin sounds like you're doing the exact opposite. Actually, you're really thinking about it. I feel like that's more of an advanced technique.
I think it's advanced, and I don't think it's for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not into writing and thinking a lot, then And I don't mean, I mean, people that don't like the technique still think a lot, but you have to.
You just don't have a brain. That's why you can't do it, Travis.
Exactly. Definitely don't mean that. I do mean, though, that it does take like work to just go through these steps.
Yeah.
But it's the outcome is like, whoa, really strong. Like definitely my strongest acting has been in this class.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I've had probably more classes than most people on earth.
Yeah, yeah.
But
well, what an awesome
and
opportunity.
I do love Meisner, by the way. I do that was my fundamental. That was what I was grounded in.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. Yeah, well, Meisner is good with connection, right? That's kind of, and that's the side that you really focused on too, is the connection side. Yeah. But that's good. A lot of times.
And the responding, instead of like, you know, to like take the time, like you say something to me and I need to hear it.
Yeah.
And it needs to land on me. And then I need to think about it for a second and then I need to respond to you.
Right.
Instead of just like, oh, you said your line, I'm saying my line. So this made the connection.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, and David, who teaches that here.
David Cox. Amazing.
Is
amazing
very
teacher.
good at connection.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're just getting into acting, that's where you want to start, is connection.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people that I've noticed, even actors that have been on for a long time, who weren't necessarily trained in that way, will practice with themselves. I don't say this, but somebody used to call it stop playing with yourself all the time. Okay. So they just practice their lines by themselves.
Right.
You know?
No, right. I do know what you mean.
Yeah. So they'd be, constantly doing their lines by themselves. And then when they got in the room, they couldn't adapt it because they weren't actually listening. Right. So if I come in and I always practice it one way and you start delivering it a way that I never heard in my head, that actually threw me.
That happened to you?
Happened to me so bad.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was doing a trial. The movie was The Trial of Everett Mann.
Oh wow.
And I was playing a lawyer, a defense attorney for a guy that was on death row. And I did this scene, in my bedroom, practicing like 1,000 times in my head. I'm like, I gotta nail this. This is my first like big role where I feel like, I'm really gonna be in a movie. And it was so serious and I was like almost tearing up, and when I was doing it, and I get in the room and I start to do it that way. And I do it one time and he's like, okay, that's good. Try doing it with a smile this time. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
So I literally had to take 5. I was like, I cannot wrap my head around doing this with a smile on my face because I've been doing it like crying, so I wanted to like pull tears and like have this big dramatic moment, but it's not what the movie needed. And the director knew that, but I didn't know that. So I go in with way less expectation now. Right. Because I really almost botched that scene by over preparing, which sounds weird. It sounds like you can't over prepare. But when you have an expectation and that expectation gets blown away, if you're not good, you could mess yourself up. Yeah. So that's kind of when I started transitioning into more of like I need to be prepared, but not over prepared, right?
Right.
Not stuck in my ways.
You just have to listen.
Yeah, well, that's it.
You have to listen and know the relationship. Mm-hmm. Like, who are you talking to?
Yeah. And that's simple for us now, but that's advanced when you just don't know. Yeah. Yeah. I had no right being in that movie, and thank God it turned out good. Oh, it did. And good. What's crazy is that the director halfway through the shoot was like, dude, you're really hard to work with. And I was like couldn't breathe. I felt so stupid that I like couldn't breathe. I wanted to just drive off a bridge. Oh my gosh. And he was like, you're hard to work with. And he goes, we're going to keep pushing through because we've already shot half the movie, but hopefully we get what we need. And I mean, it was devastating. Oh my gosh. It was devastating. And then he called me like after he edited it, and it was all getting colored and everything, and it was all done. And he's like, man, people love your performance. And I was like, oh my gosh. The last 4 months of my life have been hell because I thought I was so bad. Oh my gosh. He goes, I'm screening it to like some VIPs, and he goes, they love it, dude. They're like, you're so honest on the screen, and you just come across so nice.
Thank
and I was
God.
like,
At least there's
I didn't
that.
ruin my career on my first like real role. You know what I mean?
Oh my
So
gosh.
it was it was like traumatic.
Wow.
But I learned a really good lesson. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
I will never over prepare, and
Oh my
I'll never
gosh.
be a pain in the butt to work with too. So I think it was an inexperience. I wasn't being difficult. It was just inexperience.
Right.
I think what he was seeing was he thought I was experienced, and I was just being a jerk. I'm like, I just don't know what I'm doing, so help me. you know,
Well, a
it
good
just came across wrong.
director, I'm sorry, but a good director knows how to notice that. Like, he's not being a jerk. He's just,
Yeah.
you know, and be able to like help you and coax you into delivering the product that they're looking for.
Yeah, I think our communication was just really bad. Like him and I just were not on the same wavelength. Second half of the week, I like apologized. I'm like, dude, that's not my intention.
Wow.
And then the
good.
second half of the week was much better, and it got better and better. But yeah, interesting.
The stories.
Yes.
One day, it's going to be because you're going to be on the big screen many many times.
Yes. Well, thank you. You will too, because we have a project coming up.
We do, and I'm so excited about that.
I don't want to spill too much beans on it, but talk to me about what characters you like to play.
Thank you.
Talk to me about like what's your ideal role? What do you want to do?
You know, it is shifting right now. I'm kind of in a shift. I just got, because I was a manager, I couldn't act.
Yeah, there was a long time there where
I became a Hollywood manager.
Yes, that's right.
Had to drop acting.
You were my manager for a
I
little while.
was your manager. I submitted you a lot.
Well, we got some good auditions out of that.
Yeah.
We did.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. I just realized, though, I couldn't really help Georgia actors the way I really wanted.
I know.
And so I was like, and I can't act.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I got to act.
Yeah, you got to follow your passion.
Yeah.
For sure. So back to roles that you love, and what do you want to do?
So around that time, I took Selena's class where she did the Essence. So the kind of roles that I would love to act in are probably not the roles I'm going to get booked on, apparently.
Right. Okay.
So,
tell me more about
I don't
that.
really believe that necessarily, because I can change that. I can change the perception.
Okay.
I think. Maybe not. But if I was going to play, like, I'm so not like, in real life, I'm a nice person.
Yeah.
But I like playing a little bit more villainous.
Yeah.
I like it. It's just kind of fun. I don't want to be evil.
It's super fun.
But I just like to be,
Yes.
a little bit of a, like Vivian.
Yeah.
Vivian's perfect.
Yeah. So in our movie that we're working on right now, you obviously play the antagonist. And I think what's cool, I think we are giving that character a little more life in the newest version of the script, a little more depth, I should say. Like, people will get it maybe a little bit more and relate to you a little bit more. But I think that's the mark of a good actor, and I think it's the mark of good writing and directing, right? It's like, I think the most recognizable villain that I can think of is Thanos, because everybody's seen Endgame,
Yeah.
But I think what I like about Thanos is that he thought he was the good guy.
Right.
He's like, I'm doing this because it will make the rest of the population have more abundance.
Yeah.
But the abundance fallacy, we know that there's no overpopulation, that's a fallacy. So he was wrong, and killing half of the people in the world or in the galaxy is obviously evil, but he thought he was doing something good. I think that's what makes him so interesting.
Yeah.
And why people resonated with him, because he thought he was the good guy. And I think that's what makes a good villain.
Yeah, me too.
So what about being a villain do you think is fun for you?
I don't know. That's not, I like I said, I'm kind of shifting. Like, I don't know if I should try to grasp a little bit more of what I think people what I'd get booked on. Like, I don't know. The kind of auditions that I've been getting, though, do show me that I do have, that they are seeing me, and kind of like, let's just put it this way. I don't want to be like, I would like to be a complicated character.
Okay.
Whatever that looks like. It could be a good guy, good girl, bad girl, whatever. I just like a complicated character.
Yeah.
Somebody with dimension.
They're 1 in a million too.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of bad writing out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say 9 out of 10 auditions that I get, when I look at them, I don't even want to submit because the writing is so bad. And it has to be, you know me, I'm busier than a one-armed paper hanger. Which is what my grandma always used to say.
I don't know why, but yeah.
So my grandma always used to say that. It was so funny.
funny.
96 years old.
Busier than a one-armed paper hanger.
Yeah, exactly, just like that. And but because of that, when I look at a role, I'm like, this has to make sense for me, or I don't even want to do it.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not saying they're AI generated, but it almost looks like a lot of scripts now are like AI generated. There's just no, it doesn't even make, a lot of the dialogue doesn't even make sense these days.
No.
It's crazy.
It's like, I don't want to be, a villain for the sake of just being a villain. Like you talked about Vivian having some depth.
Yes.
Like, why all these cuss words? Why all this death and destruction? If it doesn't serve a purpose,
Right.
I'm tired of that.
Right.
So I am looking at this, like, I don't want to just be in something where I'm just a mindless asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to have a role that means something.
Yeah.
But so does everybody. So
Well, that's every
and there's
actor's
crap out
dream,
there.
is to play it like a meaningful, whether it's a villain. I like playing the villains. I actually like that as well. Now
why do you like playing villain?
Yeah.
What is it about it?
I don't know how to put a finger on it.
I know, I don't either.
Stuck in the same position.
Is it the complication? Like, it's a complicated character? Like, is it just juicy? I mean, what is it?
If it's written well, villains are so fun to play.
Yeah.
And you get to do and say things outside of, I think as an actor, we're always looking to go outside of ourselves. Like if you look at Dwayne Johnson, he's never not played Dwayne Johnson.
Right.
His character might as well just be called The Rock in all of them.
Right. Exactly.
His range is about this.
Yeah.
This much. When someone like Daniel Day-Lewis is like, he can literally just be a different person, or Joaquin Phoenix or something like that.
Yes.
But so I think what a villain is, especially for like, I guess it works for both of us, is it so counter our character, our like actual character as a person, that playing a character so flamboyant and interesting and fun and evil is way outside. So I think it gives you the complexity that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Of like, this is not like me at all. This
I'm
will be
not
fun.
real estate Kelly.
Yeah, exactly.
As I was told by my agent once.
That's funny. Yeah. But yeah, you're actually really good at the villain thing. You're really good. You have you took the animal class, right? Was that Selena Anduze that taught that? Who taught you the animal?
That was actually stuff? David Cox.
Oh, really?
Believe it or not, we did that.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. So yeah, anytime that we're like in a class together, you always bring that up. You're like, yeah, so like, what kind of animal does this make you think of? Mm-hmm. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I do like doing that, getting into the animal character with the evilness. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to do really truly evil things. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's a cutoff for me.
And you don't want to be typecast.
Right.
I think that's the hardest part. But I don't see you being typecast. It's so funny because the more I talk to actors, the more certain actors get cast for roles that are the exact opposite of who they really are. Like when I was talking to Susan Gallagher, I don't know if you saw that episode. She gets cast for the funny. She gets cast for like, she's so classy. And on Cobra Kai, she plays like a homeless person. You know?
Oh my God,
and she's
that's
like,
so funny.
Covered in dirt and garbage all the time, and she's yelling at people. I'm like, she's so sweet in real life. But like,
she is.
Yes, and you're like one of the nicest people. You're one of the best connectors. You help people constantly. And so I think a villain for you is hilarious because it's exact opposite of your real character.
Yeah, it just brings a little bit of excitement to my sometimes bored. I'm like, I'm bored. Okay, I want to play a bad role and I'll be fine.
Yeah. Your life is
kidding.
definitely not boring.
No, oh God.
You're about 1,000,000 miles an hour like I am.
Yeah.
That's fun.
I'm like praying for time to. I get jealous when someone tells me they're bored. I'm like, I'm kidding.
How could you be?
I don't really want that. I love my full life. I do.
Yeah.
It's just, you know how it
That's
is.
fun. So what is what's next for you? Like, what do you have coming up?
Thank you. Well, it's a great question. I see film production. I see film production, writing, being able to work with a production company. That, I don't know if we're talking about that or not, but everything that we're doing with Storyteller, you know, is definitely part of my future.
Yeah.
Part of what I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
I know that, you know, right now I feel like Hollywood is in a flux, and I feel like Georgia does have a really great opportunity to fill a vacuum, a void.
Yeah.
And that, you know, if we're here making content that will be relevant and create movies that people actually want to watch. And
yeah. Do you feel like the industry right now is struggling to find that type of creativity?
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
Because they're using the same people. There's so much talent out there.
Yeah.
And they're just using the same model, the same people, the same everything. And it's just like nothing new under the sun, and it's formulaic. And then they take like this amazing raw actor, and then they fine tune them into like, you know, someone that I'm bored watching on screen now.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm just like, I feel like we're about to hit, I believe, like a golden era, you know, a really amazing time.
Yeah.
And that a lot of broken systems are painfully being rectified, replaced.
Yeah.
And I totally believe now, when I went back to Georgia State, I was there 2009 through 2011. And back then, and it's 2025,
yeah,
I was hearing about the broken system.
Wow.
I was hearing about, you know, how Georgia is starting to bring in people, but here's why it'll never work, kind of. Unless they start doing X, Y, and Z, then Georgia will never be Hollywood, right? And it's changed since then. You know, they are, you know, I mean, at the time they were like, you couldn't even be a PA. Well, you could be a PA in Georgia, but anything above that, they're going to pull in from LA.
It's wild.
And so same for the actors, right? And so over time now, you know, that we do have, you know, I guess some Georgia actors that are rising above.
Yeah, a lot of talent.
Yeah, but are they true Georgia actors, or are they
transplants? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
there's
so,
a lot of transplants. I mean, Matt Wallace is a transplant.
And thank God. He's wonderful.
I know.
You know, he belongs here in Georgia. We need more of Matt Wallace's.
Yes, he's amazing.
Yeah, he is. So, yeah, so it's the same thing with the music industry. I noticed that with my son. With streaming, with, you know, like that model is totally gone. Like there's no longer do you get signed by an agent, or, you know, you get, you get signed and you become famous. Like, it doesn't work that way anymore.
And then it doesn't do much for you anyway, right?
No.
Yeah.
No. If anything, it's a detriment. You know, and then they had like American Idol kind of stuff. And if you win American Idol, then you sign so much paperwork, you're signing your entire life away. So what looks like opportunities, like signing your name away, you're actually hurting yourself.
Yeah, American Idol, I've heard the contracts are crazy time.
They are.
Yeah.
We've seen them.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Did he go that route, or was he going to go that route?
We went there. We went there.
Really?
And he, you know, he had people that followed him and invited him back, but ultimately he decided it wasn't a smart route for him, and I'm really glad that he decided to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's owned by a small amount of people, and they have these like shows and ideas and all this stuff, and it's kind of over time now it's kind of boring.
Absolutely.
Like not American Idol necessarily, but just the shows that we're watching. It's like I'm like, what is this? And I feel so bad for our kids. What they're seeing is like
terrible
crap.
Yeah.
And I get so bored. I get bored. That's why people make fun of me, because I'm in this industry and I never watch anything.
Don't watch anything. I know.
I need to watch more of the older stuff, but I'm not really that interested in things that are out right now.
Yeah. One thing that you said earlier was just that they're just recycling the same writers, same directors, same actors. There's just nothing new happening. And it's, frankly, it's killing the system. It's like a, I know it's a weird word to use, but it's like incestuous, right?
Yeah.
It's like the new talent is only this very small chosen group of, we're going to pull these people in and they're going to be famous now.
Why do they get pulled in? How do they become part of the club?
Exactly.
I mean,
that's a club.
That's a rabbit hole.
That's a Diddy rabbit hole.
But
right
I believe it.
Well,
it's true.
It's coming out now.
I know.
And we've known this for years. Most people don't know it. We've known this for years, but it's finally.
I have known this since Britney Spears shaved her head.
Yeah.
I was sitting at our family dinner talking about it, crying about this girl, this beautiful girl and I'm like, and they're just saying what it looks like and what they're, hearing and I'm like, no, this is a young girl and all these vultures and grown-ups are, look at her, totally, what's happening to her. Do people not see this? And it's just been such a, I don't know.
It's tragic.
Tragic. And it's happened to so many others. So I really hope we can that's something that I desire is to break through all of that and to be able to have something that's more wholesome here.
Yeah.
And you don't have to sell your soul to Satan to be a star.
Yeah, I hate the idea of saying like we need a middle ground, but really that's what we need, right? Because these faith-based films are quite bad most of the time.
Yeah.
So you have either cheesy faith-based, type films that are just poorly acted, poorly filmed, super unrealistic writing. And then you have, these way overproduced, way overlit, way overacted, just garbage movies with horrible scripts. I know. You said golden era, right? Like 90s, early 2000s is absolutely, in my opinion, hands down, the best movies ever produced are in that time. Now there's some standouts that come along every once in a while, like in today's age, but studios are so scared to do anything creative and new.
Yep.
And to branch out new ideas. What?
Yeah.
So I think you're right. We just have to break away from what's currently being done if we want to see a change,
Hence why, the whole, I'm spoiled living in states where the, SAG, that's just been off my radar now that I do have an amazing agent. And if I,
the union, the amount of unions that are involved, I think it is a problem. I think, when it takes two people to work a light from two different unions, you have a problem, right? You have the G&E who bring in the power, and then you have the gaffers who set the lights up. It's like, I can't use your extension cord because you're in a different union, or whatever. Yeah. There's like anything that you do where you add layers of red tape, you destroy it. And it's like, that's happened in our government. We've seen the bureaucracy is like insane in the government. Yeah. But it has also happened to any old structure in the U.S. and all over the world.
All of our systems, Travis.
All of our systems are broken.
Everything.
Yes.
All of the systems are broken.
Yes. And this is just one of them. Entertainment is
and I think it was broken by design. Because I think it's been a little bit of a money laundering system, to tell you the truth.
You're right. Producers, absolutely.
I hate to say it.
No, it's becoming not taboo.
It's not about the story.
No.
It's not telling a story that we haven't already seen a million times. It's not interesting. It's just throwing something up there to have a product. And we're doing something about that.
Yes,
right
we
here.
are. We are doing something about that.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you, even just using the word product, like you just said, they just want a product.
Yeah.
That to me is like gut wrenching, because we're artists.
Yep.
And I don't want to sound, snooty,
Artist.
but we are artists, right?
Yeah.
Like what we do, like Carly and I talked about it even. It's like the arts should be off limit to corporate red tape baloney. It needs to just be the people that are really good at creating art go directly to the public. Now I know there has to be some distribution channel and stuff like that, but having the studios come in and corporatize it and then make it this soulless repeat of what the last movie kind of looked like that did well for their numbers.
Right.
And we know for a fact that a lot of these production companies and a lot of these big producers, like you said, are skimming money constantly so that they get paid. Even if the movie doesn't do well, they get paid, right? We know that actors and a lot of the people that actually are on screen or making the picture pretty don't get paid residuals anymore, because streaming, they can't afford it with streaming.
Oh my gosh.
Even though Sony will get $100 million from Netflix and then it just goes straight to their pocket. That's how
Right.
they're surviving.
Oh my gosh.
Because they're losing money in the box office. Let's face it.
Yeah.
They're losing all the money in the box office. So how are they staying afloat? They either have their own streaming network with millions of subscribers, or Netflix and these other companies are paying them.
Yep.
And it's just barely enough to keep them floating right now because they're losing so much in the box office.
Then think about the kind of content that we're seeing also.
It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing and it's harmful.
Yeah.
It's harmful because it shows people who people who don't use discernment, and young people.
Yeah.
It's teaching them a really lazy, potentially evil way to be, to not think for yourself, to have groupthink, to be ridiculous. Like I'm just going through all these shows that I like on Netflix. I'm like, ugh.
I know, it's crazy. So I think there's a point too where movies, had a message, and movies will always have a message, because if they don't, they're not effective or interesting or fun, right? Even if the message is just fun. But there is always a narrative in films, but the narrative went from somebody sitting in their living room in their office writing this film that they're passionate about and the story that they have to tell, and then someone discovering that and going, let's make this, to what is the message we want to shove down the Americans' throats, and then actually globally.
Yeah.
Right. So it's went from a message to an agenda.
Yeah.
And when that transition happened about 10, 15
Well, it
years
actually
ago.
started when the CIA planted themselves in there. But yes, so
When was that?
that was, I think, in the 60s.
Is that Mockingbird?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Which now we know is a
real.
real thing.
Yeah.
When you would have been called a lunatic 10 years ago.
Exactly.
But now we know that the CIA has a whole budget to make movies.
Yeah. And it's propaganda.
It's propaganda.
And a lot of it is the war machine. Glamorizing war.
Yes. Well, look at the
war.
military's commercials. They're freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I want to join the military. When I look at their commercials, I'm like, I could be a badass, But they've been doing that in movies for many, many years.
And pinning people against people, and if people were left to their own demise, everyone would probably love each other.
Right.
If we weren't fed how we're supposed to feel about people.
Yeah. I just feel like, man, I just have such a love-hate relationship with technology.
Yeah.
Because I love the accessibility that we have to make movies on cameras that only cost, you know, 4,000 or 5,000 as opposed to 50, 60, 70,000, right? These older cameras, I mean, they made sure that you had no chance to make a movie. They wanted it to be exclusive. And then companies were like, sorry, technology is getting to the point where it's on your cell phone now, you know, or you can just buy, you know, a Sony or a Canon and just shoot a movie, you know, on these cameras now. So I love that, but I hate that we are being fed trash all day because of that, because of the computers in our pockets and the computers that we have on our desk. And most businesses are online now, and you're just constantly fed garbage, you know, social media. The people that create social media are not on it.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Because they create it to be like a slot machine. It's like addiction. It's dopamine hit, dopamine hit.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, it
seems like distribution is probably the last stronghold on this industry.
Yeah.
Like how to get it out. You make a movie, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
You know? And that's still so owned. I do like some of the models, you know, we've talked about a lot.
Yes. It is the last nut to crack, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And in my business model that, you know, we're working on, I feel like that's like the linchpin.
Yeah.
That we need to work out the kinks in that, because it's getting it to the masses is tough.
Well, look at The Chosen.
Yeah.
The Chosen did a great job. They started off as an app, and a bunch of people downloaded the app and watched the shows on the app, and then you could watch it on Netflix, and now you know, so they had their own form of distribution, which worked.
Well, a lot of that, you know, the Christian community, the faith-based community, has great word of mouth. That's really where you find your best word of mouth, is in like big groups like that. Whether it's, you know, I can't even think of anything that would be as good as like the faith-based market. And there's really nothing like that.
Yeah.
You know, as far as communities are concerned. So I feel like that's a great niche to be a part of, which is, you know, it's just not where I want to be. It's, I make movies. I mean, The 11th Hour is a faith-based film that I'm, you know, helped co-direct and co-produce. That's coming out in March, but I don't see myself making a ton of faith-based films. I think what we make will have God's DNA in it because we're Christian, but it's not like those are not the movies that we're going to make, I don't think. So yeah, distribution is definitely the nut to crack.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the hardest part of it, and it'll come. It'll come at the right time when it's ready. And I think there's other people working on it.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen, so what's interesting is like Storyteller Film Company, right? The company that we're building the team for right now. You can't have the company be the same as the distribution company, actually. And they cannot be linked together by a parent company. So distribution, I do think that it's going to come at the perfect time, and I think it's going to be us partnering with the right people. I don't think it's something that we're going to have to figure all of it out. That's just kind of my sense about it, because you become a monopoly. Like Disney can't distribute Disney.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah,
that makes
they
sense.
have a distribution company.
Right.
It's called Buena Vista.
Yeah.
It's the biggest one in the world. But they're not technically a monopoly because it's not Disney distribution. It's Disney always is distributed by Buena Vista.
But this is also part of the broken system.
Yes. Right.
So I mean, call me crazy, and I have been called crazy.
Join the club.
Actually, I'm very happy to be called that. But I actually think that the systems are going to be reinvented. And it's going to be
100%.
that it hasn't been done yet, and it's happening now.
Yeah.
For music and film.
I totally agree.
And I feel like we're on the cusp of it.
Yeah, we're on the bleeding edge.
Yep.
No, for sure. I'm just saying legally you're not allowed to do that, and that may change too. Laws may have to change, things may have to be moved around.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
But when I still feel like somehow it has to be left up to the people's choice.
Right.
So if it was that, Storyteller Films made great movies and we figured out a way to distribute too, who says there shouldn't be a monopoly? I mean, I don't think that's good necessarily, because then it could become a monster.
Yeah, I think the FCC actually regulates it.
Yeah, the FCC, a government agency, another one.
Which hopefully will
that
go
does
away.
all these things to help us. They're so wonderful.
So great.
They help us so much. They don't hold the people down at all.
No.
We get to be free and do what we want.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, I want to wrap up here. Thank you so much
Oh, you're
for
so
coming.
welcome.
I wish we had more time, but
Me too.
We do have a little bit of a limit we got to stick to. So there's so much. We definitely have to have you on again. There's so much that we want to jump into later this year as we start to roll out more of what we're doing, why it's different, why it's unique, how it's going to change the industry dramatically. We'll definitely talk more about that. But any final thoughts from you? Anything that you want to share with people?
Wow, I wish I'd have thought of that in advance.
Should have told you I was telling you that question.
I asked you about the questions. Well, I would say, have faith, believe in yourself, and go for it.
Yeah.
Never give up. If you have a passion and a dream to be an actor or anything,
Yeah, whatever it is.
be the best one that there is. If you want to do anything, if you want to be a garbage truck driver, be the best one. Like, make people happy all the time. Like, do something that just makes it joyous for you.
Yeah, find your passion.
Find your passion.
Yeah.
And go for it.
Yeah.
We're all told that we shouldn't follow our passions. You can't make money. It's not practical. If you can do it and do it really, really well, and you have a passion for it, my God, that's what God gave you, and that's what you're supposed to do, and hold on to it with every ounce of your being.
Yeah. Don't you think a lot of people these days, don't you think a lot of the depression and the issues with identity and stuff are because people are not doing that?
Yeah.
They're just
not
told
connected.
not to. Yeah.
When God makes you look the way you look, you shouldn't want to look another way. God gave you gifts. If you have this passion and it's from a good place,
Yeah.
It's a gift. And for whatever reason, society has told people not to go there. And I think that's totally wrong. I
Yeah.
think you have to.
Yeah.
You have to run to it.
I agree. Well, hey, let's jump into more of the industry next time.
Yes,
But
awesome.
it's been great to
Thank
hang out with you and see
you.
you.
I love you.
I love you.
You're the best.